Our topic this morning is making miracles in relationships. And even in this so-called quarantine, people are everywhere. They somehow manage to get to us and affect us and react to us, and we still have to deal with them. And so today we're going to take a look at that and see how we can create something new and wonderful in our relationships and in every single relationship. So first of all, I have to tell you a story, or let me say I'm confessing. This past week, I went into my usual breakfast place. I like to support one of our local restaurants by having breakfast there, takeout, obviously, a couple times a week. And I am prepared. I really have the intention when I go there to be a blessing, to be filled with love. And so I was walking across the parking lot with my gloves and my mask on and had a big smile behind the mask, all ready to just, ooze love all over the place. And for some reason, when I walked inside the door, I could see that the other people waiting there were not arranged correctly. Now, this is a place that has not put little dots on the door or arrows, anything to help us out. So we have to self-arrange ourselves so that we're all 6 feet away from each other, obviously, right? And I noticed that there were 2 people standing close to the door, 6 feet apart, like they were in a line, but they were in the wrong line. They were standing where you wait after you've ordered and paid. But they probably didn't know that. And they might have been thinking that they were giving space for the people who were way deep in the place ordering. But that was wrong. And something came over me. I just, got an attitude. And I just walked right past them all. I could feel behind their masks that their mouths were dropping like, she's cutting in front of us. And I did. I knew what I was doing, but I had attitude and they were doing it wrong. So I just sashayed right past everybody, keeping 6 feet away. And I went and I ordered my food and I paid for it. And then they, one by one, took the place that I had occupied and got their food. And then there we all are waiting. And I knew what I did. I couldn't live with myself. I don't know what happened. It just happened. And so I apologized. I went up to the man 6 feet away and I said, I'm sorry. I knew you were waiting and I just cut in front of you. I don't know why I did it. I'm sorry. And he's like, oh, no problem. It's okay. I understand, blah, blah, blah. He was very gracious. And the other woman that I cut in front of, she wouldn't come anywhere near me. So she might not have been so gracious, but people. And I admit that morning, I was the people. I was the one you don't want to be around. So let's get clear about people like me. One of the things that I find is helpful when I think about relationships is really a third entity. That there's me and what's going on with me. And then there's this other person and whatever is going on with them and who knows what that is. And then there's the 2 of us together. And a third thing, call it the relationship, but it's a living, breathing thing that grows. This third thing gets created as I and the other person, as we interact. And what we have learned in our inspiring book of last month, April, we used this book, Shortcut to a Miracle, written by Michael Rand and Elizabeth Rand Arrett. And in it, they talked about these physical laws that are invisible, that have been discovered by the quantum physicists, and that are changing everything that we know about how this universe operates, even on the physical particle level. And so the thing about these laws that have been discovered, remember that one that said that somehow we are not just observers, neutral, non-influencing observers, that we actually are participating in what is happening in the universe. Just go to a sports event if we could and be with the crowd in the audience. And I know when I'm in that audience, I affect what is happening on that court. If it's basketball, which that was the last game that I got to go to. And I know I affected that game. I know the Rutgers women basketball team won because I was rooting for them. I was participating and I was aware I was participating and I was for the greatest good of all. But yeah, go, are you rah? So that's true of us in everything in the universe, even in how the quantum particles move. And it's really absolutely true of our relationships. They point out in this book that in relationships, we only feel our own energy, our own emotions. In other words, we have an experience in the relationship. In other words, the other person or a relationship does not give us joy. We experience that joy in being in the relationship. So I know if you're like me, and especially the way that I really used to be back when I had lots of unhealthy relationships, I believed that if I was not feeling love, it was the other person's fault, that they weren't loving me. But what we need to understand is you can never feel anyone else's love. You can only feel the love that you are loving in yourself, maybe for them or about them. And the reason why this is there's no separate love. There's only one universe, one energy, one love. And we share in it. I can't give some of the cosmic love to you, although we want to, right? Especially, with little creatures, little babies. I have a couple of cousins who are posting their baby photos that I haven't been able to meet yet. Oh my God, they're so cute. And I want to send them love. But what we want to realize is love is everywhere, omnipresent. And so the love is already there. So there's no love for us to send to them. But what we can do is feel the love that we have when we think of them. And then this entity called the relationship is getting fed or fueled or filled up, or the love that's omnipresent is getting recognized in the relationship. And so the love that is able to be experienced by either one in the relationship is increased because one of us is adding a greater awareness of the love that is there. So relationships are a bubble of energy. And if we want to improve them, then think of love and feel the love. And so when we want to make a miracle in a relationship, it is, unfortunately, all under our own control, as in we need to tune into more love in ourselves. And that will automatically be filling that relationship with more love. The other thing that they point out is we are connected on the invisible level. We're all one. We are connected. And so we want to realize that this connection is forever. And so that's the good news when we have loved ones who move off the planet, who pass on. The love that you feel for them is still there, and the relationship still exists. And we may or may not meet them again, on some other plane of action. I'll let you know when I get there, but the love that we feel, that love that's in that relationship is still present. And it is forever. And it can keep growing. So just like I can grow in awareness and you can grow in awareness and grow in love and peace and all the other qualities of the divine, the relationship can grow also. So, how do we do that? Number one, you got to change your attitude. Like there I was in that restaurant and I had attitude and I had to change my attitude. So there's two rules in improving a relationship, which are the same rules about creating any miracle. I probably should have said this at the beginning because you might not like the rules. The rules are that we can absolutely create a miracle in our relationships if we follow two criteria. Number one, it has to be for the greatest good of all, or the more love. That what we have to send as an, or our set as an intention in the relationship is more love, more good, more peace, more harmony. In other words, we cannot set an intention to hurt or harm someone else. And bummer, I know, because sometimes we want to, right? Well, or maybe me, just me. It's all about me, right? So I heard a quote somewhere that resenting someone is like drinking poison and expecting the other one to die. So this energy that we have within us must be more loving, more peaceful and more harmonious for the miracles to happen in that relationship, and cannot hurt or harm them. In other words, cannot take away the freedom of choice. Yikes. As they point out in this book, when we start setting that intention to improve a relationship and we're adding love into that relationship, the other person has freedom of choice. And their three choices are: they might change in how they relate to you, they might leave our world, or you might leave their world. And when you set that intention to create a miracle in a relationship, you don't know what's going to happen. That's why we don't want to do it. Because we want what we want from that other person, right? It's that strong energy. We want them to love us. We want them to apologize to us. We want them to get away from us. And the rule of relationships is the greatest good of all. And so if you're still willing to work on improving a relationship, this is how we do it. We have to accept that the other person has complete and total freedom of choice. They could stay exactly the way they are and then move away from you. Or they could stay exactly the way they are, and then for some reason you're lifted up and moved away from them. Or they might change toward you in a positive way, and everything can happen. Or you might realize that you've been the one all along, like I was in the restaurant. I was the one with attitude. So when we are setting out to create a miracle, we decide, okay, I'm willing to take the change in the form of this relationship, even if it means they go away. I'm working on a relationship right now that I am creating miracle with, and I'll tell you in a little bit what spiritual practice I've been using. And if I had my druthers, I would hope the person would go away. But they seem to keep getting closer. And I want them to go away, and they keep getting closer. Anyway, you got it. You obey the rules. So we have to change our attitude toward the person in our energy. A lot of times when we're angry or we've got stuck emotion in us, we've got stuck issues, we unconsciously are believing there's nothing we can do to change. There's nothing that we can do to change the other person. And we just sort of give up. But all this emotion is built up in us and stuck in there. And so the way to create a miracle is to unstick that energy. And so to move from wherever you're at in the relationship to love might be a stretch for you, me, right? But we don't have to even go that far for a miracle to happen. We can simply move from our stuck position to neutral, just to neutral, so that you're not feeling any energy or emotion one way or the other. And to set that intention to experience something new and wonderful in that relationship is a way that we can access spiritual practice and grace to move in and help us. In this book, Shortcut to a Miracle, along with changing your stuck energy, getting it to move again, they also recommend that you begin seeing the relationship in the way that you would like it to be rather than the way it is. That you can actually visualize a wonderful, warm experience with that person in your mind. And even though it might never happen, although sometimes it does, sometimes it takes decades and it might happen, but the point is that you've changed that energy within you. So there's you and there's, let's say, me, God bless us, right? And then there's our relationship. And so if either one of the people in the relationship move and change their energy, the relationship is affected. So as we move from anger, resentment, or guilt or shame or hatred and anger, as we move from those negative emotions into neutral and call on divine love or God or Jesus or grace to step in and show us the way, or to heal, make better, to improve, then miracles can happen. There's no other way to do it. Yes, relationships can improve. You can work on them. You can, believe me, many of us could certainly use getting some counseling and some improved communication skills. That would be me. Oh, I had horrible communication skills with people when I was younger, but I've improved. I've practiced. I've improved. So we can get better at speaking what's in our heart. We can get better at connecting with people. There's all kinds of videos out there to show us and to help us how to do that. Those are skills that can be learned, but miracles is when God steps in. And when we're calling on God, that's why it has to be the qualities of love, peace, harmony, the qualities of the divine that we have to be willing to accept. And so I'm going to give you my little praising prayer. And for those of you who have known me for any length of time, you know I love this spiritual practice. And it's very simple, and you could do it with postures, or you could do it without. You could do it silently. You could do it in the middle of the night. You could do it out loud. You could do it, just don't do it walking along the canal or in a park, because people will overhear and wonder what you're doing. It's happened to me. All right. So it's very simple. So you think of that person that you would like to change your experience in that relationship. And you say, I praise you, so-and-so. I raise you, so-and-so, in the name of love. And so you can practice that right now. You can think of someone that you love. Think of something. Let's start with something easy. Somebody that you love. So I love my niece, Kimmy. I praise you, Kimmy. I raise you, Kimmy, in the name of love. And you can say that over and over. You can say that as many of times as you want. There is a spiritual practice called 70 times 7, which you can use that 70 times 7 for any spiritual practice that you like to do or you really feel you need to do. And it's based upon the story when Peter came to Jesus and said, "So, Jesus, when I have to forgive, my enemy, is 7 times forgiving my enemy good enough?" And Jesus said, "7? How about 70 times 7?" So that's where that came from. In other words, it means a lot. So if you've got someone with a lot of energy, a lot of stuck emotion in you, you may decide to do this praising prayer 70 times in a row. I like to do this while I'm driving my car, and I've got my hands on the wheel, and I'll go, "I praise you, so-and-so, I raise you, so-and-so, in the name of love. Da-da, 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 da-da. Da-da, 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 da-da. 20. Then go this way. Dun, 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 dun. And then that's 40. Then dun, 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 dun. You see, I've done this, right? Okay. So to do that 70 times in a row or a lot, or until, you get distracted or you realize, there's a police officer there with looking at you weird. And then you could do that over 7 different times. You could do it 3 times a day. You could do it once a day. You could do it once a week, just whatever it is that you're guided to do. And your whole purpose is just to clear up your own stuckness, to set yourself free. You're not doing anything to them. And so it's up to them whether they want to do anything about it. And it's also up to them whether they even sense anything's going on. What's happened to me, and just about everybody I know who has tried this particular little spiritual practice, miraculous things have happened. People have completely left their lives, like with a coworker, they just suddenly get transferred and promoted out and away, and you're there free, or you get promoted out, or somehow the person comes and apologizes, or you take another look at them and they say something and you realize, oh my gosh, this is my best friend. I don't know how many of my close friends developed after I changed my energy about them. Because one of the things that I experience with other people is if I see someone who's really wonderful, I get jealous because I want to be like them. And so unconsciously, I don't even want to admit any of that. And so all I know is, oh, I don't like her. She's too sweet. Or, I don't like him. He's just too aggressive. That person's too aggressive, when really I'm admiring that self-assertion. So whatever negative emotion you have about anyone in any relationship, that energy, that emotion is in you, and it's sticking in you, and it's causing you not to feel that beautiful circulation of love that is omnipresent. And so we are the ones who are suffering in every single relationship where we are angry, hurt, don't like, hate them. And they, them, right? They could care less that you don't like them or that you hate them or that they are on your list. They don't care, right? And that's one of the other things that makes us crazy about them, right? We're like, they don't even care. I mean, here that woman just passed us all in that restaurant, and she acted like she could care less. And I certainly did. They're absolutely right. But thank goodness grace descended. Maybe that gentleman that was in line that I cut ahead of, he called on divine love and he changed the energy so that I woke up and realized I need to apologize. We are one. We are interconnected. We affect each other with how we think about each other, feel about each other. And so it is important that when we want to experience something miraculous, that number one, we have to identify with the qualities of the divine. And number two, we have to be willing to be the ones to make the first inner move, Now, it doesn't mean we're condoning the other person's behavior. And there are some people in my world whose behaviors are such that I cannot, for my greater good, be involved with them in a direct way. But if they are across the United States, somewhere else, far, far away, and I have no contact with them whatsoever, I can be neutral toward them. So when we are making miracles in our relationships, that's why sometimes they might move away or you might move away. It's for the greatest good of all. It's for the greatest love of all. And yeah, there are some people, hopefully not me or you, right, who are just stuck in the way they are. And so they're just not the right person for you to play with in this sandbox of life right now. Again, there's you, there's that person, and then there's the relationship. And you can affect you. And by changing the energy in you, you can open up the relationship, which is also a divine relationship, so that if it's for your greatest good, you move away from each other. If it's for your greatest good and the other's greatest good to move together, you move together. And so we don't know what that is because we can never know what is for the greatest good of the other. And we may have a good idea of what's best for us and what we choose to experience as far as behaviors from other people. And that's appropriate because love is the greatest good of all. Love in relationship must include love for yourself. There is no sacrifice in relationship. It's love, the greatest good of each one. And so only you know what behaviors you are guided by grace to choose to express in that relationship. And it may be, I just would be better for me not to be around you for now. You may be thinking, ever again, but we want to neutralize that emotion. So we let grace solve all those unknowns for us, because grace coming from the divine, that infinite intelligence that knows everything, it knows everything about you, it knows everything about the other person, and it knows all that is possible and good in your relationship with the other one, so that it is always taking the perfect form. My wonderful father, he was really scary when I was growing up, and he left the planet, moved on, passed on when I was very young. I think I was 20, 21 or something. And at that time when he moved on, my predominant emotion at his passing was relief, because he was very, very scary in his behavior. But that relationship is ongoing. And as I have changed, who knows what he's doing and what he's going on, but as I have changed, I have grown, I'm over here, right? I have grown in love. And so the relationship has been affected. And I believe that after decades of calling on divine love to show me the way, I believe I can meet him again in some other place and only be happy to see him. I do. And believe me, that's not where I was when I was 20. So relationships grow as we grow. And so let me review that spiritual practice again, because it's magic. I invite you this week to take someone that you love, or you feel neutral about, or you just maybe feel a little uncomfortable about, or for those of you who've been around for a while, take somebody you hate, you dislike intensely. You get more bang for the buck. So the more anger and negative energy you have, the bigger the miracle that can happen, because, if we've got that much hate in us, there's a lot of love to circulate. So the miracle will be even more dramatic for us as it occurs. But whatever, again, with all spiritual practice, listen to your own inner guidance and don't do anything unless you know it's right and it's safe for you to do it. So if you are guided to do it, take that something, and why don't we try it again now? Let's take we took someone that we loved. Let's take a total stranger, a neighbor, or, that woman in the restaurant who would have nothing to do with me. And so we'll say it 3 times. I praise you, woman. I raise you, woman, in the name of love. I praise you, woman. I raise you, woman, in the name of love. I praise you, woman. I raise you, woman, in the name of love. And so let me do an affirmative prayer, a spiritual mind treatment for each one of us. And I invite you, before I do it, to select someone that you really want that relationship to improve with all your heart. But you be willing to change, okay? All right. So this word is being spoken for each one concerning that someone that they desire to experience more love in their heart. There is only one loving presence, God, and there is only one universal heart. The love that is God is everywhere present. All of this love is present right where each one is, right here and right now. All of the love is present. Each one is loved, lovable, and loving through and through. Each one is pure, wholesome, loving goodness. And this love brings to each one harmonious experiences and comfort, support, and an abundance of grace. This love is of that heavenly Father, that divine mother, that loving parent from above who cares about each one. Each one is God's most beloved child, and each one is absolutely, unconditionally loved. And so I know that this love is everywhere present, and this love is here, there, and everywhere. There is not a spot where love is not. And so, with regard to that particular person that each one has chosen, I know that love is there, that love that sets each one free, that love that is omnipresent. It is circulating everywhere, and it is circulating now in that relationship. And each one is receiving that breath of freedom, that lightness, that support, that guidance, that inspiration, that shift in perspective, that shift in the heart, whatever it is that anyone requires to experience freedom in this relationship, to get unstuck, to be able to be free of worrying or being free of any negative energy about anyone else. Each one is completely free, so that each one is able to be with the other person in a higher, freer, more peaceful and harmonious personal experience, that each one is able to be with this other person and be in the presence of divine love, and feeling only the divine love, knows that there is nothing about this other person that could hurt or harm them, because it is love that is present. And that love being present is supporting each one, guiding each one, guarding and protecting each one. And love, being also this infinite intelligence, knows what is best for each one and this relationship, so that the greatest good of all, which includes each one, is experienced and blessed. And the right and perfect form of this relationship emerges. And each one here is knowing that as this form changes, it is being done by grace, by love, by the presence of that loving God, and that all is well. And so each one is freer and lighter and happier and experiencing more peace of mind and more peace in the heart. And with this expanded circulation and movement of love there is for each one, not just in that relationship, but everywhere. A greater experience of harmony, of perfect right order and divine right action, a greater acceptance and experience of abundance and prosperity and wonderful and good things. And each one is also experiencing greater health and vitality because each one is set free by love, by truth, by God. I am grateful that this is so. I release this word to God's law, so grateful it's taking care of everything this, and each one is experiencing a miraculous transformation in their lives. And so it is. And so that's the way it is. And I'm grateful that you came, that you joined, that you've watched. Please feel free to share. And if you'd like to connect with us in any way, you can reach us through our website, cslprinceton.org, or here on our Facebook page, CSL Princeton. And if you'd like, I'll be here again next Sunday. So have a wonderful week, and please let me know the miracles that are coming in. I'd love to hear them. Thanks.